This is my 10th time attempting this presentation on the Graecopithecus Freybergi. So, for the history of this animal, this jawbone was discovered in 1944 by the German forces while building a military bunker. I say jawbone, that's really the only fossil that was ever discovered. Now, this fossil was found in Queen's Tower, Athens, which is about northwest of Athens, Greece, right around this area. So this jawbone was then dated back to 7.2 million years ago and was nicknamed El Graecico, which is the Greece. So the taxonomy of this animal, we can actually see why is it named what it's named. So one important very key factor is the Homanian subfamily and the Homaidae family, right? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because of how little is known about the species. I compared to two other animals around its era. We have the tchadensis 7 million years ago, and the Macedonius, which is 9.6 to 8.7 million years ago. And this can go to show that when we're actually comparing the anatomy, what the animal actually looked like and what kind of range it fell in between when it comes to its culture and a lot of the other information I'm getting for this species. So for the anatomy of this animal, we can see that the jawbone right here, this is the only fossil ever discovered besides the footprints. And you can see that the actual crown of the tooth on the molars are actually very worn down, and there's little information provided, which can actually give us a little bit of information about what they ate, but not anything else. So these are the footprints. You can see that there's not too much special about them, but the fact that they survived, 7+ million years, it also gives us a basic look at what they actually looked like in height-wise, because their feet are related to height. You can also importantly notice it only had 4 toes and a rendition of a big toe, which can be related back to us. So this is what the tooth in the jaw looked like, and this is what it would have been looked like if it was placed back in. So the reason I mentioned those two other animals before is because I wanted to actually see what this thing looked like. So this is a Macedonius, and this was about 9.6 to 8.7 million years ago, which is around 1.5 million years before our species was found or originated. So you can see this is what the skull looked like, because there's actually enough fossils in the species to find what it actually looked like. And if we then compare it to 200,000 years after an animal in a different subfamily but relatively same time period, we can see the skull for the tchadensis and the actual render of what it looked like. So using this information, even though we don't have a skull, even though we don't have a render of what the Freybergi looked like, we can hypothesize that this is what it actually looked like, a mix between these two species. So for the evolution, the important part of this presentation, we're actually going to see the theories, because there's many theories surrounding this animal because of how little is known. So the biggest part of this animal is that it was actually found outside of Africa, and it's one of the oldest fossils ever related to humans found outside of Africa. So as a result, this is first of all the oldest species related to humans after the human chimpanzee split. The second thing is that this is a connection to human and non-human primates as a result of that. So this animal lived in Southeast Europe 7.2 million years ago. That's the first suspected part of the evolution. Then it was suspected to evolve back to Africa 7 million years ago and later develop into the genus Homo. However, this is all just a theory because of how little is known, because the actual Homo itself only emerged 4 million years after Freybergi. So this is either suspected A, that it evolved in Europe, came back to Africa, and evolved in the genus Homo, or B, actually just developed alongside humans, but was actually not related to humans, and developed human-like traits and behaviors, but then went extinct. And you can see on the timeline, you can see developed back in Europe, and you can see that we're also seeing later species back in Africa, and then we're seeing even later species go throughout the rest of Europe. So it's highly suspected that this is where this animal originated, and this is the most popular theory. Now, for actually finding a taxon tree, we can actually see that this is related to a bunch of other species around it, obviously, but however, this is all just a theory because we truly do not know where this animal would even fit in, because there's still theorized even origination of the species. Is this species even real? Could have just been some offshoot of just some human, right? So that's the evolution of it. And if we go back to these skulls, we can just see how small the brains were of these species around this time period. And the reason that is important is because we know that they weren't very smart. They're not going to have religion. They're not even going to have cooking. they're not going to have any form of style. They're actually just going to hunt in groups probably and get what they can. As a result, and as a result of their teeth being so worn down, we can then suspect that they ate diet as seeds, nuts, fruits, leaves, flowers, and barks. So this, as a result of cooking not even originating until 5 million years after the species existed, so we can really not suspect there was any other culture besides this. Religion didn't even come along until 30,000 years ago with the pathology of religion. So as a result, this animal, there's not too much known. There's probably going to be more known in the future, but this is all the information that I could find. This concludes my presentation. Probably no more questions.